appreciate all the staff coming out. You know, everything that y'all do, we appreciate. The city appreciates you, the council, the mayor and council. You know, we're about to embark on a journey. You know, right today we got Eisenberg and Associates talking about our branding and our tagline. You know, over a year ago, staff participated in, you know, establishing our core values, and we've been rolling that out into our hiring and evaluation processes, and really trying to live our core values and not just be something that we have up on a wall, but that we really emphasize. I think, you know, the citizens appreciate that, and I think ultimately y'all appreciate that. As we met with stakeholders to establish our timeline, our tagline, and, you know, really means something. It's going to tie into our core values. It's going to tie into our servant leadership. You know, we're about to go out and really, you know, this is not something that ever ends, but we're going to really start, you know, with leadership classes and really embracing servant leadership. A lot of our departments already do a lot of servant leadership, but the whole city is going to do it, and it really counts on y'all. You know, it's easy to talk about servant leadership in terms of our customers and citizens, but servant leadership also means how we treat our employees. You know, us as managers, me as a city manager, you know, we're here to serve y'all and make sure that you can do your job and take care of you. So that's the other part of servant leadership that often gets left out. You know, we really want to ultimately be a different kind of city, and that's really up to y'all. How you interact with your customers every day, you know, going the extra mile, making sure that everything's taken care of, you know, doing things that, even if it's not your job, that you take care of. And I hear that all the time. I get that feedback back to people. And, you know, I really appreciate that, and I always pass it on to council so they know that y'all are hard at work at doing that. We have a video I want to show you that is kind of about the city, and then Eisenberg and Associates will be out here to talk about the process for our branding and our tagline. And if you haven't already filled out your name, we're giving a drawing away for several gift certificates. If you drop your name in the box up here, and then also we have some cups to give away too. If you haven't already got them, you can get them before you let you over. But again, I appreciate everybody coming out. Appreciate y'all. And then you want to start the video? Do I need to turn this off?
Yeah. Okay, great. That was a great video. Thank you. My name is Arlo Eisenberg. I'm with Eisenberg & Associates. I'm the creative director at Eisenberg & Associates. We're going to walk you through kind of the process of how we got here. We're going to talk about where we're at, where we're going, how we got here. Let me give you a little bit of background about the company, and then we'll take you through the process. But before we get into it, I would like to say, we've worked with other cities, we've worked on taglines and things like that, but we've never been invited to be a part of something like this, where we actually present the work that we've done to city employees and key stakeholders such as yourselves. And I think that this really is a testament to some of the things that Jason was speaking about, but really putting this branding into action. It's not just branding, it is actual, real, authentic messaging. It's real branding, and the fact that you guys are all here and that the city and the EDC have put this together, I think it makes a really strong statement. So we are Eisenberg & Associates. I mentioned that I'm the creative director, but my father is here. This company's been around for over 45 years. We might be losing some of our guests. But they can watch the video. That will be on. That'll be available online. Actual emergency. It's an actual emergency. We'll just hold out and. Okay, well, we wish them well. Hopefully everything will be okay. Just showing you, this is my father. Over 45 years we've been in business. This is him through different decades, the 60s, 80s, up into the 2000s. And we've worked with other cities, as we've mentioned, but this is truly a unique experience. We help cities with their branding, messaging, taglines, things like that. But our job is not to come in and reach into our marketing bag of tricks and say this is how you should market the city. Really what we do is we come in and we want to understand what your values are, what's important to you, what your vision is, and then we help to articulate that to what the audience is that you want to speak to. So we are really excited about the work that's come out of this process, and we're going to share that with you today. But before we get to where we're at, we'd like to sort of backtrack and talk to you a little bit about the process and how we got here. And to do that, I'm going to bring up Alan Cooper. He was the one who really spearheaded the workshops and so forth as we went through the brand messaging exercise. So here's Alan Cooper.
Hello, everyone. I would like to reiterate, the idea of living the brand is a big deal. If you guys are bought into the brand and it's part of the community, it's so much more effective. And so, again, it's a testament to you guys for being here and being part of the process. We did include stakeholders. We did include brand advocates within the community to be part of the process. So, it was real important that we included opinions and ideas from people that are involved in the community. So I wanted you to know that that was a big part of the process as well. But just to back up, we were brought on to handle two things: one, brand messaging, and two, brand guidelines. Brand messaging, if you think about how messaging is used these days, it's in social media, it's in blogs, it's on signage, it's at events, it's in brochures, and if it's consistent, it can be really effective. And if it's not consistent, it's splintered and it's diluted. And so, working with the team, the brand committee, allowed an understanding on our part that we knew it was important to them, we know it's important to the community. And so we really dug in. Let me make sure I do this right. So we laid the foundation. On the front end, we understood what your objectives were. We met with people from a brand audit standpoint to learn what your goals were, what your current situation was, and everything in between. And so it was important for us to understand that. We had, after that, we had a brand messaging workshop. Actually, let me back up. We had a research study. It was an online research study with brand advocates and members of the community, from the fire department to pastors to school administrators to developers. And it was really important that we include a lot of their thinking in the process. We used that information to develop some analysis that set up these workshops with the brand committee. And the brand committee, as you can see there, we've got flip charts on the wall with a lot of those ideas on the wall. We were able to fine-tune and hone the thinking, and eliminate some of the ideas, and bolster some of those other ideas that came out of the sessions. As you can see here, these are some documents that were the final pieces of the puzzle, but Arlo is going to talk more about that in a bit. Again, here's some of the brand advocates defined. We throw around a lot of terms and a lot of lingo in marketing, but we like to define what those terms are for people who aren't as familiar with them. And this is a list of the types of people that we met with from your community and that we gained information from in these online surveys. So it was important to us that we didn't just roll in here and give you our thoughts, but that we were inclusive of the mentality and the objectives of the people in the community, because this process is all about the community. From those sessions, we gained key insights on community, what appropriate progress means to the community, what the current perception is of Celina, and kind of where you want to be. What's the desired perception? Sometimes there's a gap in that world, usually is. And so it's really important to be able to identify where you are and where you're going, as Arlo mentioned earlier. What makes you stand apart from a differentiation standpoint is crucial. Luckily you do have real differentiators, and it's not just sort of copying your neighbors, but it's really what makes you stand out as a community. And we've experienced Celina over and over again in these meetings, and it really is a different community, and you are a special group of people, and you've got something to market. So if you don't have something to market, you don't have something that sets you apart from a differentiating standpoint, it's kind of falls flat. Thankfully, you guys have something that you stand for. We identified biggest opportunities. We talked about businesses that would thrive. We talked about residents that want to be part of the community, that are good fits for the community. And we talked about challenges. Every group, every brand has challenges. And we'll add this. When you're talking about branding for a community versus branding for a product, it's a lot more personal. It's a living, breathing thing. And so it's a lot more fun for us, frankly, to be able to work with a brand that represents all of you people and all of the businesses that are in the mix as well, and all of the different services that the community gets to benefit from because of your hard work. Foundational pillars. I'll give you a little definition of what that is. Pillars that support the foundation of the brand, basically, were identified in the workshops, and all those flip charts that you saw in the photos were boiled down to these. We identified 8. One is people, obviously, and what those types of people that make up the community and make up the businesses are all about. Supportive, savvy. You guys like to do life well out here in Celina. You've got city services, obviously. You've got teachers, and you've got a variety of other types of people that make up this great community of Celina. Small town spirit. There's a rural feel. There's the idea of living, growing, and thriving. You guys are neighborly. Y'all are modern in a sense, in that you've got the high-speed internet laid in, the fiber. You've got a modern take on progress, but you embrace a small town spirit. So it's a perfect blend, in what makes up your brand, and that's pretty exciting. You have big potential for new business and new residents, and we'll come back to this in a bit. You're very well connected. We talk about high-speed fiber. We talk about social media, the trails, the open patios, the square. The idea that there are custom online platforms for people in the community to share ideas on and concerns. So it's crucial that is recognized, and Connected kept coming up over and over and over again in these sessions. So we knew we were onto something. You're inclusive, friendly, welcoming, you're engaging. You have all sorts of people here, which is great. And you're involved. You've got boards that are filled. You've got a supportive community. I would not call this a passive community. You guys get involved, and that's pretty impressive. You have helping hands. When somebody's down, you give them a hand. When somebody needs a hand in building a business, you support it. All sorts of things that we kept hearing from these sessions. You state your opinion. You don't hold back. We noticed that in a lot of the city hall meetings, city council meetings, rather. And so, that's to be respected. If you don't speak up, nothing gets done. And you want to help grow the community in the right way. Again, doing life well means being part of events, pitching in, going to the restaurants that are local, supporting the local ideals that are here. And Friday Night Lights, what's better than that? The idea of green appeal means an open environment, less walls, and the ability to see the stars. I mean, you come out here and you can really see the sky. You don't get that in Dallas, and so it's something to be celebrated. Tone of voice, just real quick. We like to identify how we speak about the brand. When you do that, you get your phraseology right when it comes to social media posts, signage, videos, which we're going to talk about down the road, and the ability to nail that down properly. You're not a stuffy community. You're connection focused, you're inclusive, you're personable, innovative, confident. You embrace that Texas rural spirit, and you're proud, and rightfully so. All that needs to be represented in messaging, and otherwise we're speaking in a false manner.
Thanks. Okay, so stand away from the speaker. So all of this is meant for you guys to use. Jason mentioned this in his open, but excuse me. But so the branding right here is based on you guys, what y'all have already been doing. You get a lot of feedback from the community, talking about their interactions with you guys when you're out in the field or if you're on the phones, whatever you're doing, however you engage with the community. So all we do here is we're trying to create a playbook based on that. We're taking the best elements of what you guys are already doing. We're trying to sort of formalize it so that when we pass it on to the next generation and the next people, or when new people come into the community, they can sort of tap into kind of the ideals of the community, the way that we do things here already. And so Alan kind of walked you through some of the steps that we took to get here, just sort of synthesizing that information. But what we've got right here, this is an actual page taken from the brand standards document. And so there's a couple of documents that came out of all these workshops and stuff that are available for all of you guys. You can get them through Jessica. They'll be available. I think that you can email her for them. There'll be some hard copies that you can get. But we encourage you to access this stuff because it should be pretty helpful. In a lot of ways, it'll tell you what you already know, but it will help to reaffirm what you already know. And if you are ever in a position where you're coming up with, if you have to create a flyer for an event, or however you're communicating with the community, it's just helpful to look back and be able to reference something and say, oh, are we nailing the right tone of voice? Is this appropriate for the community? Does this sound like the Celina tone of voice as far as we've identified it? And in the brand standards, it's not just bullet points. It's got a little bit more depth to the information to help you work with it. Just one of them as an example where it says connection focused, which is taken directly from all the workshops, but it says aspire to make genuine connections, speak in a way that is authentic and relatable and connect with your audience. So it's just got sort of helpful information like that. And so as Alan was talking about the process of how we got here, it's just going through phases. You get all the information from you guys, from key stakeholders in the community, from the city, from the EDC, and you talk about what's important, and then out of that you come up with your 8 pillars, which sort of set the foundation for everything else, and then you come up with a tone of voice. And now from all that, we're trying to synthesize it down to a tagline, essentially. It's one of the things that come out of this. And a tagline is just kind of like, it's a clever way of articulating what your community's values are, what your aspirations are, to, a broad audience. And so what came out of that, and it should be a kind of hard task. I mean, just trying to synthesize all that down into one quick, pithy statement. But in this case, for Celina, it kind of wrote itself. I mean, because connectivity was so integral to all the talking points and all the information that we were getting, the feedback. And it relates to so many different things, from high-speed fiber cables, right, and the connectivity, actually literally being connected through Wi-Fi and things like that, but also how the community's connected, through connected trails, through designing the homes so that patios face each other. Holding a meeting like this to bring city employees together to get on board with the messaging and the branding. I mean, connectivity is not just lip service. It really is a key attribute of this community. And so Life Connected just captures that and conveys it. And so now that we've got a tagline, then what do you do with it? How do you put it into action? And so, business cards, apparel. I see a lot of you have Celina on your shirts. Maybe we get shirts that will also say Life Connected. Your email signatures, and again, all these things are accessible through Jessica. This is absolutely going to be something that is encouraged to sort of push this brand, as Alan mentioned, kind of in his presentation. But consistency is important, and in a lot of ways, you guys, all of you in here today, are part of the brand. I mean, you are probably the most essential part of the brand. You are the kind of the face of Celina. You're who the community engages with and interacts with. And so if we are always sort of putting into practice these ideals, the Celina sort of brand, the tone of voice, the things that you all already do, but if we're doing sort of, top of mind, if we're aware of it and we're doing it in a coordinated way, then it really starts to add up to something. And this is just a little more depth, but again, this is a page from the brand standards, but just to show you that, it's got a lot of information that is useful. So, one of the themes that will come out of this, or that we will keep going back to, is we encourage you guys to use these resources because they're there for you. And they don't just show you what to do, but they also show you what not to do, which is also helpful. This isn't the tagline per se, but it's a logo, but the same rules apply to how you use the tagline. There's a lot of ways that it can be used that are less than ideal. And so why is this important? It's a crowded marketplace out there. North Texas is booming. There's a lot of communities, your neighbors, a lot of other communities in North Texas that are sort of competing for for developers, for new residents. So we want to put out there what is special about Celina. We want to be out there in that marketplace, and we want people to know what the Celina brand is. That's kind of why we go through this exercise. And we've talked about how we got here, we've talked about where we're at, we've got the tagline now, and so we also want to talk a little bit about where we're going. And I think it's important to point out, or to recognize that, all throughout this process, it's been about engaging with the community, engaging with stakeholders, engaging with city employees. It's not just about directing this thing, it's about authentically representing the values of the community, and you can only do that through an open dialogue. So that's part of this process, is we encourage your feedback, we want your input, and in particular, regarding the next steps, where we're going with this. Because now you've got the tagline, we've got to do something with it, and and there's a lot, this is all kind of food for thought stuff, but Alan kept talking about the opportunities through social media, but a lot of cities are doing fun stuff kind of with their campaigns. Making it interactive so people can get involved and buy into it and really identify with it. They've got these fun things. Dallas has the big signs all around. McKinney did the unique sign. But lapel pins, t-shirts that say Life Connected. I mean, there's just lots of ways to kind of get buy-in from people and to make it fun. And also, cross-promotion. There's a lot of great businesses in the community already, and there's lots of opportunity to start doing some cross-promotion, tying in with the different businesses. We do lots of great events in the square. You could sort of tie in the Life Connected messaging there. Just a lot of opportunities. And I guess this is the point where we could talk about, or where we will open it up. And if you guys have any input or any questions, we welcome and encourage those. The tagline is, we've identified as Life Connected. I know that Jessica's got some cool merchandise over there that's got the tagline on. We've got some cups and things. So I thank you all for your time. It means a lot. I know it means a lot that you guys all came out and made time for this. And I just have to re-emphasize, just because I think that it's so surprising, but so gratifying to see what this says about the community. So that is a testament to all of you. So thank you. Any questions? Any ideas for how this could be incorporated? Or any? Can anyone say what Life Connected means to them? It's all right. Don't be shy. You always want to get to the, what do we got?
If anyone answers that.
Oh, okay, we can sweeten the pot. We might have some special giveaways for people that have
Someone has to
answers.
talk. Do I say anything before?
Again, I'd just like to thank y'all for coming out. We are going to put this on the SharePoint, and we can also send out some PDF guidelines by email too, if it's easier for some people. But really, to emphasize on the Life Connected, we really mean that for our citizens and for our employees, living in a place, living well. When you see people downtown and they're enjoying our events, or when they're talking to their neighbors, or having a driveway party, they're connecting with people, and that's what we're trying to emphasize.